Have you ever heard of ancient texts filled with hidden knowledge and a history that's as captivating as it is mysterious? Welcome to a journey through the world of forbidden books, works that were once locked away, burned, or even branded as heresy for centuries. But ironically, it's that very act of suppression that has made them so intriguing. What secrets lie within these pages that made them so dangerous and so irresistible? In this video, we'll peel back the veil on some of the most enigmatic texts ever written, books that have shaken scholars, mystics, and truth-seekers around the world. From the Book of Moses, believed to contain sacred magical rites, to Picatrix, one of the most influential Islamic texts on astrology and occult practices from the medieval era. And then there's Jesus the Magician, a controversial work that portrays Jesus in a way you probably didn't learn about in Sunday school. Join me as we explore a realm where knowledge, power, and belief collide. A world where the things that were hidden might just hold the key to understanding the spiritual roots of human history. Get ready, because what you're about to hear may challenge everything you thought you knew. Let's dive in. 1. The Gospel of Pope Honorius. Have you ever heard of a grimoire that dared to blend Catholic rituals with arcane invocations, invoking both angels and demons in the same breath? Enter the Gospel of Pope Honorius, a mysterious and controversial text that has fascinated and alarmed readers for centuries. Often referred to as the Grimoire of Pope Honorius, this text is attributed, perhaps falsely, to Pope Honorius III, who reigned from 1216 to 1227. It is unique in the realm of magical literature for its overt fusion of Christianity and ceremonial magic, a combination many considered blasphemous. Unlike most grimoires, which work outside mainstream religion, this book dares to perform sacred rituals, invoking God, Jesus Christ, saints, and angels, not for worship, but for magical control and protection. The Gospel includes detailed instructions for summoning spirits, commanding demons, and channeling divine power. It tells readers how to construct magical tools, wands, rings, and vestments, and how to carry out rituals calling on divine or celestial beings to carry out earthly tasks. Exorcisms, spells of protection, and rites for acquiring secret knowledge are all part of the repertoire. Though the format may echo Christian liturgy, the purpose is clearly magical, and this uneasy overlap created waves of theological concern. The Church responded predictably with outrage. To Church authorities, this was not just an act of religious syncretism, but a full-blown heresy. The idea that a pope could have authored a manual for commanding demons was explosive. While scholars now believe the authorship was falsely attributed to lend the book ecclesiastical legitimacy, the damage was done. The book had already inspired a quiet but enduring underground following. Historically, there's no credible evidence that Pope Honorius III had anything to do with this grimoire. The attribution was likely a strategic move by the real author to claim divine endorsement and mask the book's occult roots under a Christian cloak. Still, the pseudonymous strategy worked. Many accepted the connection as real, which allowed the book to circulate among clergy and lay practitioners alike. Despite, or because of, its scandalous nature, the Gospel remains a significant work. It illustrates a fascinating moment in history when Christianity and magic were not always as separate as we assume today. The Gospel of Pope Honorius is a powerful reminder that faith and forbidden knowledge often walked dangerously close together. 2. The Book of Abramelin. Imagine a book so powerful, so sacred, that it promises direct contact with your holy guardian angel, a divine being capable of unlocking hidden knowledge and guiding your soul toward enlightenment. That book is the Book of Abramelin, one of the most revered and mysterious grimoires in Western occult tradition. The Book of Abramelin, attributed to Abraham von Worms, a Jewish mystic from the 14th or 15th century, is structured as a personal letter from father to son. In it, Abraham recounts his journey through Egypt, where he claims to have encountered a sage named Abramelin, who imparted to him a complete magical system that would become the foundation for this grimoire. Unlike many other occult texts of the time, the Book of Abramelin is not just a list of spells or invocations. It presents a rigorous, months-long spiritual discipline designed to purify the practitioner and align them with their divine will. At the heart of this process is the goal of achieving knowledge and conversation with one's holy guardian angel, a divine figure who acts as a spiritual guide, protector, and source of wisdom. This concept would later influence modern magical systems, most notably those of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley. But the text doesn't stop with angelic contact. After communion with the guardian angel, the practitioner is instructed to summon and bind demonic entities, a daring act of spiritual confrontation. These spirits are not to be worshipped, but subjugated. The magician, with divine authority, commands them to obey, often assigning them to perform earthly tasks, such as bringing wealth, uncovering secrets, or influencing events. This duality, angelic alignment followed by demonic control, sets the Book of Abramelin apart. Its contents were deeply controversial. Religious authorities viewed it as dangerous, heretical, and even blasphemous. The idea of an individual seeking direct contact with angels without clerical mediation challenged ecclesiastical authority, and binding demons. That was flirting with the forbidden. The Abramelin operation is not for the casual seeker. It demands months of celibacy, daily prayer, solitude, and ritual purification. This made it inaccessible to most people throughout history, adding to its mystique and aura of sacred danger. Only the most devoted, disciplined, and spiritually ready individuals could hope to complete it. Today, the Book of Abramelin is considered a foundational text in Western esotericism. It continues to inspire serious occultists with its message that true magical power is born not from dominance, but from spiritual alignment and divine connection. The deeper truth it suggests is clear. Before you can command the unseen, you must first master yourself. 3. The Book of the Law. What if the voice of a god spoke directly to you, not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally dictated a new spiritual law to reshape the world? That's exactly what Aleister Crowley claimed happened in 1904 during a stay in Cairo, Egypt. The result was the Book of the Law, Liber El Vel Legis, a cryptic, poetic, and revolutionary text that laid the foundation for the modern occult philosophy known as Thelema. According to Crowley, the Book of the Law was not a product of his imagination. He insisted that the words were dictated to him over 3 consecutive days by a non-corporeal being named Aiwass, whom he identified as a messenger of the Egyptian god Horus. This event occurred while Crowley and his wife, Rose Edith Kelly, were exploring Egyptian spiritualism and esoteric knowledge. Rose herself reportedly entered a trance and declared without prior knowledge that the god Horus wished to speak through Crowley, a claim that changed his life forever. The book is divided into 3 chapters, each delivered on a different day. Each chapter is associated with a deity representing a facet of existence. Nuit, the infinite sky goddess, symbolizes boundless potential and cosmic space. Hadit, the point and spark within, represents the soul and the personal divine spark. Ra-Hur-Khuit, a form of Horus, represents strength, fire, and a new age of human consciousness. The central tenet of the Book of the Law is famously encapsulated in the line, "Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. This isn't a call to reckless hedonism as many critics assume, but rather a command to discover and follow one's true will, a divine purpose aligned with the universe. In Thelemic philosophy, living in accordance with one's true will is the highest form of spiritual alignment. However, the radical nature of the book shook religious, moral, and social foundations. It rejected traditional Judeo-Christian morality, emphasized personal freedom, and embraced what many interpreted as spiritual elitism. For Crowley, this wasn't rebellion for its own sake. It was a declaration of a new aeon, the Aeon of Horus, an era of individual spiritual awakening. The book's language is poetic, at times violent or paradoxical, and full of esoteric symbolism. Critics saw it as the work of a madman. Followers saw it as scripture. Despite the controversy, the Book of the Law became a spiritual cornerstone for Thelemites, modern occultists, and ceremonial magicians. It continues to challenge, inspire, and provoke those who dare to explore the boundaries of spiritual autonomy and mystical experience. 4. The Grand Grimoire. What if there existed a book so dark, so dangerous, that it claimed to offer direct instructions for summoning Lucifer himself? That book is the Grand Grimoire, also ominously known as Le Dragon Rouge, the Red Dragon. One of the most infamous occult texts in existence, feared and revered in equal measure, believed to have been written sometime in the 17th or 18th century. The exact origins of the Grand Grimoire remain shrouded in mystery. Some claim it was discovered in the tomb of King Solomon. Others believe it was authored by a mysterious figure known only as Antonio Venetiana del Rabina. Regardless of who wrote it, the book's contents are chilling in their clarity and ambition. Unlike other grimoires that cloak their rituals in symbolic or allegorical language, the Grand Grimoire is direct, almost mechanical in its approach to magic. It provides explicit instructions for invoking demons, making pacts with them, and commanding them to do the practitioner's bidding. At the center of its ritual system is a demonic hierarchy, with Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth as key figures who can be summoned and bound through detailed magical procedures. The book is typically divided into two main sections. The Grand Grimoire, proper, outlining rituals, invocations, and tools needed for demonic evocation. The Sanctum Regnum, or True Clavicles of Solomon, more advanced practices, including how to enter contracts with spirits to obtain wealth, power, and forbidden knowledge, the most controversial aspect. The Pact with the Devil, a formal, ritualized contract in which the magician offers their service, or even their soul, in exchange for supernatural assistance. This theme has become a cultural archetype, influencing countless works of fiction, from Faustian legends to modern horror films. Because of its overt embrace of black magic, the Grand Grimoire was universally condemned by religious authorities. Possession alone could result in charges of witchcraft or heresy, especially during the Inquisition. Rumors persist that an original copy is locked away in the Vatican, hidden from public view due to its explosive content. Yet, the allure remains. Even today, modern occultists and demonologists regard it as a powerful, if perilous, manual. It has been cited by practitioners of voodoo in the Caribbean, ceremonial magicians in Europe, and even pop culture writers fascinated by its promises. In essence, the Grand Grimoire is a grim invitation: power, wealth, control, at a price. It serves as a dark mirror, reflecting humanity's ancient desire to command the spiritual world, even if it means bargaining with the damned. 5. Jesus the Magician. What if the miracles of Jesus, healing the sick, raising the dead, casting out demons, weren't unique divine acts, but instead rituals rooted in ancient magical tradition? That's the controversial premise at the heart of Jesus the Magician. Charlatan or Son of God, a groundbreaking and provocative work by historian Morton Smith, published in 1978. Far from a sensationalist attack on faith, Jesus the Magician is a meticulously researched scholarly text that explores an uncomfortable question. Was Jesus of Nazareth actually seen by his contemporaries not as a divine savior, but as a powerful, wandering magician? Smith's thesis is bold. He compares the acts attributed to Jesus in the New Testament, healing the blind with spittle and clay, casting out demons, walking on water, multiplying food, to magical practices common in the Greco-Roman world. Similar stories are found in ancient texts about other miracle workers and sorcerers from Egypt to Syria. Smith also points to papyrus scrolls and magical inscriptions that describe rituals almost identical to those performed by Jesus. One of the most striking examples is the use of divine names during exorcisms, a practice documented in Jewish and pagan magical circles centuries before Jesus. In the ancient world, invoking the true name of God was considered the ultimate magical act. Smith argues that Jesus' famous authority in casting out demons could be interpreted through this lens, not as divine power, but as arcane knowledge. This interpretation, of course, sparked outrage, particularly among Christian scholars. For believers, equating Jesus with a magician not only diminishes his spiritual uniqueness, but threatens the very foundation of Christian theology. Calling Jesus a magician sounds like blasphemy, but Smith insists his aim isn't to insult, but to recontextualize Jesus within his historical setting, a time when the line between prophet, healer, and magician was often blurred. The book didn't go unnoticed. It triggered heated debates in academic and religious circles. Was Morton Smith trying to demystify the divine, or was he recovering a piece of historical truth long buried under centuries of theology and dogma? Whether you agree or not, Jesus the Magician forces readers to confront a deeper question: how much of religious history is shaped by interpretation? Are miracles always signs of divinity, or could they have been understood, at least by some, as acts of powerful magic? Smith's work remains deeply controversial, but also incredibly influential. It opened the door for future scholars to re-examine sacred texts through anthropological and historical lenses, reminding us that the past is often far more complex and far more magical than we assume. 6. The Book of Moses. When people hear the Book of Moses, most think of the biblical figure who parted the Red Sea and received the Ten Commandments. But there is another, lesser-known text, a mystical, magical grimoire bearing the same name, that offers a radically different picture of Moses, not only as a prophet, but as a powerful sorcerer with divine knowledge of supernatural forces, known in Hebrew as Sefer Moshe, or in some traditions as the 6th and 7th books of Moses. This enigmatic work emerged between the 14th and 16th centuries, possibly originating in Europe, though its roots clearly draw from Jewish Kabbalistic traditions and folklore. Unlike canonical religious texts, this book isn't focused on laws or morality. It's a manual of magical practice, packed with spells, incantations, and divine invocations said to have been passed down from Moses himself. The Book of Moses outlines rituals that claim to grant power over nature, spirits, and the human body. Some passages describe how to invoke angels, speak sacred names of God, and even replicate legendary feats like parting waters or healing the sick. According to legend, the secrets within were revealed to Moses by God during his 40 days on Mount Sinai. Secrets too powerful for the general public and preserved only by an elite spiritual lineage. One of the book's most iconic features is its use of magical seals and sigils, each inscribed with sacred Hebrew names and mystical diagrams. These seals are said to offer protection, attract good fortune, or compel spirits to obey. The structure of these magical formulas draws heavily from practical Kabbalah, a branch of Jewish mysticism that focuses not just on divine contemplation, but on manipulating spiritual forces to achieve tangible results. Unsurprisingly, the Book of Moses was viewed with suspicion and even outright condemnation by religious authorities, particularly within Orthodox Judaism. Practical Kabbalah, unlike its more philosophical counterpart, was often seen as dangerous and heretical, especially when it involved invoking divine names for personal gain or supernatural control. Despite this, the book circulated widely in underground mystical circles and was later adopted and reinterpreted by Christian occultists during the Renaissance. It has even influenced traditions like hoodoo and root work in the Americas, where elements of its magic merged with African spiritual practices. Today, the Book of Moses remains one of the most intriguing examples of how faith and magic, myth, and mysticism can intertwine. It paints Moses not just as a servant of God, but as a master of divine mysteries, a figure whose legacy extends far beyond the Exodus. 7. The Cloud of Unknowing. What if the path to knowing God meant abandoning everything you think you know? That's the radical spiritual premise of The Cloud of Unknowing, a mystical Christian text written by an anonymous English monk in the late 14th century. Though lesser known than other theological works of the era, it remains one of the most profound and challenging explorations of direct union with the divine. Rather than presenting a step-by-step guide to religious living or moral behavior, the Cloud of Unknowing offers something far more daring, an invitation to enter into a relationship with God that transcends thought, logic, and language. According to the author, the human intellect is not only inadequate to understand God, it is actually an obstacle. The core method the book teaches is contemplative prayer, not verbal or ritualistic prayer, but a silent inward surrender into the presence of God. The practitioner is told to forget all distractions, even theological concepts, and to cast them below what the author calls the cloud of forgetting. Above this lies the cloud of unknowing, where God dwells, not in form or idea, but in pure spiritual essence. The only way to penetrate this cloud is through love, not reason. This deeply mystical path, aligned with certain traditions in Christian mysticism, such as those practiced by the Desert Fathers or later by figures like St. John of the Cross. But the cloud of unknowing was unique in its gentle defiance of theological dogma. It claimed that one could experience God directly, without the need for clergy, doctrine, or institutional mediation. That message, of course, made it deeply controversial in a church-driven medieval world. At various times throughout history, the cloud of unknowing has been censored or discouraged. In periods of intense religious orthodoxy, its suggestion that God could not be understood through reason or taught by theologians was seen as dangerous, even heretical. Yet, despite suppression, the text endured, copied and passed down in monastic communities and among Christian mystics. Its influence stretches far beyond its time. Modern contemplative movements, such as centering prayer, owe much to this anonymous author's vision. Even beyond Christianity, seekers from other traditions have found deep resonance in the book's message that true spiritual connection begins where the mind ends. In a world obsessed with knowledge, certainty, and analysis, the cloud of unknowing offers a paradoxical but timeless truth. The highest form of knowing is not knowing at all, only loving. 8. The Picatrix. What if the power of the stars could be harnessed, not just for prediction, but for transformation? That's the ambitious and arcane promise of the Picatrix, one of the most comprehensive and influential grimoires ever written. Originally composed in Arabic in the 11th century as Ghayat al-Hakim, the goal of the wise, and later translated into Latin in the 13th century. The Picatrix bridges ancient science, philosophy, mysticism, and magic in one formidable volume. Far more than a spell book, the Picatrix is a magical encyclopedia, weaving together the wisdom of Greek, Persian, Indian, and Islamic sources. It is most famous for its extensive treatment of astrological magic. The idea that specific planetary alignments, times, and rituals can influence earthly events and spiritual realities. But this is not merely about reading horoscopes. This is about working with the forces behind the cosmos themselves. One of the text's core components is the creation of talismans, physical objects imbued with celestial power. These talismans are crafted during precise astrological moments, invoking planetary spirits to instill the item with specific energies: love, wealth, healing, domination, invisibility, and even shape-shifting. Yes, the Picatrix includes instructions on transforming into animals, summoning spirits, and unlocking prophetic dreams. To accomplish these feats, the text emphasizes not only ritual precision, but also purity of body and mind. The magician is instructed to undergo physical purification, fasting, and meditation before attempting major operations. There's a heavy philosophical backdrop here. The practitioner is not simply bending nature to their will, but aligning themselves with the macrocosmic intelligence of the universe. Because of its openness in discussing magic, necromancy, spirit invocation, and manipulation of celestial forces, the Picatrix was condemned by religious authorities throughout history. The Christian Church viewed its contents as dangerous and heretical, while some Islamic scholars also warned against its use, particularly its blending of magic with spiritual philosophy. Despite suppression, it was secretly read and studied by Renaissance scholars, including figures like Marsilio Ficino, Cornelius Agrippa, and Giordano Bruno. Today, the Picatrix is considered a cornerstone of Western esotericism. It continues to inspire astrologers, occultists, and spiritual seekers who aim not just to understand the stars, but to work with them. In a time when ancient wisdom is often reduced to entertainment, the Picatrix stands as a profound reminder. Magic is not superstition, it is a dialogue between the human spirit and the cosmic order. And for those who dare to listen, the stars still speak. What did you think about today's video? Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If this video opened your mind or helped you see reality in a new light, don't forget to like and subscribe to Top Hidden Knowledge so you never miss our next deep dive into mystery, perception, and the hidden workings of our universe. And if you have time, explore more videos on our channel. We're just getting started. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and never stop questioning the world around you.